Welcome to Digging for Kryptonite, Breaking News Bonus Edition. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss the just-released full trailer for James Gunn's Superman is our pal, real-life Lobo cosplayer, Justin DeVoe. Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
By popular demand, sir, I am here. I have like 3 pages worth of notes, man. I am ready for this thing. So I watched it during school. I told everyone to shut up. We put it on at school. And I watched it, and then I took some notes. Can I just start with the voice change when he does the interview with Superman? Like, he goes right from Clark right into, like, Miss Lane. He sounded like Christopher Reeve. I was like, holy shit, man. It was dope. It was dope. There's so much in there. I had to keep pausing it. And again, it's all the same action. It's the same action scenes. If you saw the other ones, this one is it. But what was added was the heart. There's so much to go over, man. Dude, it was amazing. It was amazing. I was in. I'm not saying that, like, you know, all hail everything Gunn and shit, but let me tell you something. Homeboy did his homework. You for years have been saying, I want a more Superman movie that focuses on, like, Clark as a journalist and the being the light in the very, very cruel world. And let me tell you something. That's what we got.
Right on, man. I got to say, first of all, I have been looking forward to this all day, to be able to talk about the trailer and to talk about it with you specifically. And you said by popular demand, and it's true. There were a couple of folks who specifically requested you. There were other folks who asked who's going to be on for this episode. And I said DeVoe, and they were very excited. I said, expect it to be rowdy, as is always the case when you're on. And you also referenced that extended preview, right? So if we're talking about the timeline of this, we had the first teaser trailer late last year. Bernie and I did an emergency episode on that. Right. And then on Superman Day this year in April, we were expecting a full trailer. But instead of that,
this one, right.
But instead of that, we got a so-called extended preview, which was essentially that teaser we had seen before,
oh my God,
but more fleshed out. And so we got more of that moment with Superman and Krypto in the snow. And then we followed Superman into the fortress, and we could circle back to that extended preview as well. But This finally, at long last, less than 2 months before the movie actually releases, we get the 3-minute long full trailer for the film.
And it was full. Like, it was a full trailer, and that shit was full to the brim, man. There was a lot going on in there. Still a lot, to the point where I'm like, yeah, there's a lot going on, but I'm a little bit more relaxed about it now. Like, I hope this movie has like a 3-hour runtime.
It does not. I think from what I've heard, I think it's under 2.5, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's close. It's somewhere in that range.
All right.
I mean, we'll know for sure as we get closer, but that's what I believe to be the case. But let me also say, I truly appreciate everyone who reached out either in a comment or a private message to say that they were looking forward to our thoughts and wanted to know how we felt about all of this. That means a lot.
That thing was really long. And like I said, it's very touching to someone like me who's like, I hope it's that dude because I love the energy and shit like that. So the amount of stuff that you send me, it's really dope. So I hope I do it justice.
I know how much it means to me when I hear that people are enjoying the show, they're engaging with the show. And so whenever someone singles out one of our guests like yourself, I always want to pass that along because I hope that you have a similar reaction. And I know that you do. And
dude, it's awesome. And you do all the time. And it fucking tickles me every time. I was like, oh man, it's going to be great.
And so to everyone who reached out and said, what do you think? And I was like, I'm saving it for the show. I apologize. And now the time has come. I watched this the second that it was available. We were told, or I guess the word was that it was going to drop at noon Eastern.
Right.
It was a little bit before noon. I was going on to the DC YouTube channel because in the past it was set as a live release and they had a countdown and I was curious if we'd see that. But when I went there a little bit before noon, it was already up. It had been up for 2 minutes and I was like, okay. So I was here in Flat Squirrel Studios on my big iMac.
You dimmed the lights.
I turned off all the lights. I sat there, headphones in.
It's fucking awesome.
Headphones in, and I watched it. And over the course of the day, I've watched it easily 6 times. And I actually put it up on the big screen TV in the living room this evening. And my wife and my almost 6-year-old son and I, we all watched it together. And let me just say, for those who just absolutely loved this, let me put you at ease. I enjoyed the trailer. I had a positive reaction to the trailer.
Okay.
I remain cautiously optimistic as I was before. I don't know that this trailer moved the needle for me all that much. That's neither praise nor criticism. That's neither praise nor criticism. I think I'm more or less where I was before. That being said, I love that phrase. That being said,
It's my favorite.
We finally got dialogue. We finally got a clearer sense of
meaningful dialogue.
Yeah, of the characterization of Clark, of Lois, and of Lex. And I was overall very pleased with what we got on that front. I agree with you. We were talking off mic about our pal and fellow guest, sweet Bernie Gersmeyer, who...
Love Bernie. He's not going to hear this, though.
Well, he and I were messaging, and he's holding firm. He said this when we did our discussion about the teaser, and he's holding firm. He's not watching any further trailers. But he did ask me, he was like, basically he said, should I watch? Like, is it going to give a lot away? And I said, you know what? I don't think this really gives a lot away. It mostly confirms what we had already surmised from the teaser in terms of what this movie is about. Fleshes it out, right, in terms of this geopolitical conflict that Superman inserts himself into, that draws backlash, presumably manipulated in some or in whole to Lex Luthor. But you get that characterization and you get glimpses into other characters that you hadn't seen before. So, I didn't feel like this gave us so much more, but it gave us the critical piece that we needed in terms of that characterization. So overall, I do look at this as a positive, as a win. So everyone can relax.
Yeah. I still think that there's a lot of shit going on in this movie, man. And now you add the engineer, who I thought was an interesting add to Team Luthor. Like, I know the Authority's coming, and I know prior to her switch up, she was very like peaceful and she wanted peace and stuff like that. And since the switch, she's like, I want peace, but by fucking any means necessary. And she's not like a villain, but she's villainous. But like, this was like, I was like, wow, like what a weird one to add. So you got Luthor, you have, I'm fucking still mad about it, but hopefully it gets better. Ultraman, who again, in the black noir costume, that's the part that because of what he is, that's the part that bothers me the most, but I'm willing to look past that. We also, unless they do something weird with the trailer, I kind of piece together the movie, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but we know that he gets beat up, presumably by Ultraman the first time. He gets dumped in the fortress. They eventually break it. You saw them all break. You know, Bernie, maybe you should have fucking watch it. So we know that Lex broke in. We know that they trash all the robots. And then if you piece together the other one, when he's laying down and he's got like number 7 or number 11 or whichever fucking one, like he then gets mad, goes out. He presumably gets arrested inside Stag Industries. And then he gets locked up in Stag Industries because if you look in the jail cell, it was fucking Metamorpho. And it looks like he was lifted right out of the comic. And then there's a girl in a pink dress. Like I tried to pause. There's a chick in a pink dress next to her and a shadow dude on the left. Like, maybe they cut him out intentionally, but it looked like a cat in a suit. But we also know that after that, he punches out of that thing. So I'm like I'm putting together a lot of this flick. I'm assuming that the climax is him fighting Ultraman and the engineer in Metropolis Stadium. And then I'm like, so is the kaiju and what was Bryson the Hammer, whatever, the new character the one who looks like fucking Ironmonger.
Right. I don't know what we're supposed to call that character.
So he does have a name. I did look it up. He's not in the comics. He's new. It's something the Hammer. And he looks like Iron Man. He looks like a juiced up Iron Man. Hopefully, I'm thinking like, are they all going to be in some sort of like montage of like him helping? Because otherwise you got a lot of fights going on. You have a lot of stuff. And that's my only concern. I'm in for the movie. Dude, when he said I wasn't representing anything except me and good, I was like, fucking tear, bitch. I was like, this is really nice. But I'm telling you, the highlight of that is the interview with Lois. And immediately afterwards, oh, she shouldn't. I was like, have you read a fucking comic, dude? A comic. Her job, she's about that life at her work. She's about that life. Are you sure? Listen, are you sure you want me to do this interview? And he's kind of like hokey and sitting down and he's like, Miss Lane. And I love the voice switch. The voice switch was dope. And then she's not going to hold back. She's like, I got a job to do. And he kept going, yeah, but I was doing it for the benefit of everyone else. And she's hammering him like an award-winning journalist would.
Yeah. So a few things about this opening. I loved the way this trailer kicked off for a couple of reasons. One, with a very limited exception, we'd gotten next to no dialogue in the earlier teaser trailer and even the extended preview. So to start with a scene where the two of them are conversing, I thought, great. And I love the idea of this interview sort of kicking us off and serving as this framing device as we get into these action beats. So I thought that was terrific. I've been very high on Rachel Brosnahan from the start. I was a big fan of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, even though I didn't finish watching it. But I got to say, man, from just this little bit that we saw, I think the mantle of best big screen Lois Lane in my book
already
is going to go to her like right out of the gate.
Wow.
No disrespect to Margot Kidder and Amy Adams and even Kate Bosworth, but I think it's going to be her because she had this clear care and affection for Clark, yet that didn't stop her from doing her job. And I felt like she walked a kind of a delicate line between being tough without being abrasive. I love the way she came across on this.
Oh, it was done insane. It was done like that chick was prior a journalist. Like she did it perfectly. And the more aggravated he got, she didn't stop and be like, maybe we should stop. Dude, a journalist isn't going to do that. He's like, I'm trying to help people. And she's like, are you really though? Or are you just like making people like, yeah, you broke up a war. Did you though? Or is it now going to get worse because she's asking real fucking questions, dude? She's not going to ping pong back with him.
And so on the Clark front, first of all, a lot of people pointed this out that he's dressed just like Christopher Reeve after he was depowered in Superman 2, which I was like, yeah, that's true. That's nice. I assume that was intentional. But the other big thing about that opening interview sequence that really jumped out at me is the level of personality that they give Clark. Now, there were aspects of this that worked great for me. There were a couple of points where it didn't quite land the way I would have wanted it to. But the initial part where she's talking about his actions and he's like, my actions, I stopped a war. And she goes, maybe. And he's like, maybe I did. I love that. Yeah. That to me was great. When we get deeper into the scene and he's standing up and he's really agitated and he's like, people are going to die. In fairness, we know the overall context, but we're not seeing every single beat of that scene. So presumably when you watch it in the theater, you'll really see the
grows a little to
that. But overall, and then I guess the one moment where she's like, did you consult with the president? And he's like, no.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm still kind of wrestling with that little beat a little bit. That I don't know that totally rang true to me, but the counter argument is no, it's a very real human response.
Hopefully that was out of order, because that was the only thing that I was like, really? Unless we're going directly into Kansas innocence, I have to save people. Why would I have to ask the president if I'm saving people? His whole beat in that whole conversation was, what does anyone give a shit? Like, I'm saving people. I'm saving people. I don't have to talk to anybody to do that. So there is a lot of like this, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of Superman in that. He's like, I'm not going to ask to stop a war. I'm just going to do it. Now she's looking at it as she's lived in this world. She knows the way political climates are. She knows, especially in places that have been warring, like I'm assuming the Middle East, right? Like that's what it's got a very desert feel to it. You can't just go in and be like, fucking stop that. Like it's not, they're just going to keep going and they're going to do it worse. Like as soon as you leave, they're not like, you can't just be like up and away and shit and they're just going to stop. It's like your biggest problem with him talking at the United Nations was he's like, I'm going to take away everyone's nukes. And everyone's like, fucking yay. And you're like, that's would never happen. And I feel like when I said Cavill was awesome because Snyder created a Superman for a climate that we're in, that's a very negative world. And that's what you need. In this trailer, I love eating my words. I love being wrong. I think what he's trying to do is like, I'm going to create the really nice one and still stick him in this piece of shit world that we're in, which you see him all happy and go lucky. And then when he's walking into Stag Industries and the guy guns a fucking thing in the back of his head, he's just about had it with everyone's shit at that point. And it's like that. I want to see that. Show me that internal conflict, man.
I mean, this won't be the last comparison to the previous big screen incarnation, but I mean, as I'm watching
we have
this,
to, right? Like if we talk about the Reeve one, they're out there.
But if we're talking about the setup for this debate over his role in the world and in world affairs and getting involved in this international conflict as an inciting incident, it's like, what? Yeah, it feels very familiar. I don't know that this movie is going to get into some of the more kind of high-minded concepts of the other one. I think this one is going to be a lot more kind of grounded in the practical reality of like that particular conflict. I don't know that we're
Right.
going to get Neil deGrasse Tyson talking head on the news, talking about the nature of God and of Superman's role in the world. But that essential idea is very familiar and obviously was a key part of BVS. So it's just interesting to see them kind of treading on similar territory.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, your other alternative, right, is you have a Superman movie that's 20 years into him already being there. And then you can kind of bypass the rest of that shit. But I imagine based on the amount of people that show up and the fucking weird amount of people that work for Maxwell Lord, I like that part I'm still trying to put together in my head. You got a Green Lantern who, fine, maybe he's like, I'm stuck on Earth. I'm just going to work for this. We all have our fucking matching suits on and shit. You have Hawk Girl, which, all right. And Mr. Terrific, unless Mr. Terrific's there going like, you're fucking shady as shit. I'm going to figure out what happened. Why would he be involved? So they're taking liberties, which I don't mind. So, because in this one, if Maxwell Lord is playing like, no, like I'm a good dude. Like, look, we got these things out there. Superman, presumably, in this one is not the first one there. There's Green Lanterns fucking flying around. Lex Luthor, like stuff's been going on. So yeah, with someone this powerful, it's just like, all right, we got to step in and figure out what's going on. Do I want him to stay that way? Shit, no. I want Mr. Terrific to be the Mr. Terrific, like the Michael Holt I love, not under Maxwell Lord, but I guess we're going to see what happens with that.
Yeah, that remains intriguing. And the only time we've heard any of Maxwell Lord's crew speak is in the teaser trailer for Peacemaker season 2.
Which was very Gunn-esque.
We'll circle back to that. I have more to say. But we're actually going to be doing a Patreon episode in June on the first portion of the Giffen, DeMatteis, Maguire Justice League International era, because that's a gap for the most part in my fandom. And I want to at least start to explore that before the movie comes out. My gut instinct and my speculation is that Lord's crew in this movie, I think they're going to function somewhat like the JLI team and that they're this corporate sponsored version of the Justice League.
Sure.
But I assume we're going to wade into kind of elite territory where you have this other team of heroes who goes about who go about things in a very different way in contrast to
legally.
Superman. Yes.
Which again, weird because presumably Oa is out there. He's a space cop that's above everyone. Like that's what they do. So for the fact that he's just like, sure, I'm going to work for this guy and make sure everyone's straight. I don't know. Like, but he's also Nathan Fillion. He's also older. And I know a lot of people are like, he looks old. I'm like, yeah, but he also looks and acts just like Guy Gardner. He's like, fucking, all right, I'll do this job. Like, whatever. Like, I just like, dude, the backslap of light construct that he lays on that dude. I'm like, you got pure Guy Gardner right there, man.
So this notion of the Peacemaker teaser trailer, the Gunn humor, and how much this Superman trailer gives away. I want to circle back to that because I agree. I think, we're on the same page with this. I'm sure there will be surprises in the movie, but I think at this point I feel relatively confident in saying I think we have a good general sense of what Superman is going to be about. Yeah. I do think, and I could be wrong, I could be eating my words in a couple of months, and I'm happy to. I think that the teaser trailer and this full trailer are hiding the ball in terms of the true tone of the movie.
Okay.
Because we know Gunn and we know Gunn's sense of humor, and in the teaser and in this, it's really not coming across. And I don't think that's indicative of the fact that his humor is not present in the movie. And one of the pieces of evidence for this is that quote unquote extended preview, right? You watch that teaser trailer, Superman crashing in the snow, wheezing, calling for Crypto, take me home. I watched that teaser trailer.
Very different tone.
And I was like, oh, that's a beautiful moment. Like I really loved it.
And then it's ruined with Crypto. Believe me, I get it. And then you add that part in and it's like, you just took a part that was really dope.
Right.
And like you had to add in like an uncomfortable 4.5 extra minutes, him jumping all the, which they couldn't get a dog. Is he CGI in every fucking scene? Is it just me? Because you can't get a dog to sit on a fucking chest and run through fucking snow. Like, is that weird?
When we go to the full trailer, that last shot at the end of the dog on Superman, lying on Superman in the bed, I would assume would be a real dog. But as far as I think a lot of it is CGI. But all that to say, watching that extended preview a month or so ago, I know there were a lot of, so I saw some of the dialogue about this online. I didn't engage in it, but I saw there were some people who kind of took issue with that extended preview, that crypto moment. And then there were others who were like, well, that's what a dog is like. Haven't you ever had a dog? My feeling is that's all.
Fight, yeah,
well, that's all well and good. For me, it was just, I was kind of,
it was the buildup.
It let the wind out of my sails a little bit because I felt like, oh, I really loved how earnest this moment was before. And now I see the wider context and I see that we're really just playing this for laughs.
Right.
And so I can't help but wonder how many more instances of that there are. And by the way, I'm not saying that as a negative or a fatal flaw of the movie. I expect there to be humor. There can and should be, and there will be.
Yep.
I'm just saying that it's interesting to me that they are not leaning into what is arguably the core defining quality of James Gunn as a filmmaker. Right. And that's almost wholly absent from this full trailer. Yeah. And it's just kind of curious to me. And so I think when we get to that actual movie, I think there are going to be a lot more of those crypto pouncing on Superman moments than they're leading with here. That's all.
I think I think he's going to funnel a lot of that humor through Maxwell Lord's team. And that's just based on what I saw in the Peacemaker trailer.
Yep.
Like they are very like, oh, this guy's a dick. This guy, like, I'm like, well, there it is, right? Like you expected it to be somewhere and it's there. They're not going to act like that there and then not act like that in this movie. Like that part wouldn't make any sense. So I think a lot of that Gunn humor is going to funnel into there. I just don't want it all the time, right? Especially because you have very powerful moments. You have very sweet moments. You have that one line about kindness that almost made me fucking cry and shit like that. Like you have, and Ma Kent is there. We were like, oh my God, she's dead. Because we only saw like him and she's like, I'll get your boots. I was like, that's adorable. That's adorable. I love that.
Yes. I have more to say about the Kents. We'll get to that too.
How do you feel about the woman playing Martha Kent?
We'll get to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw by the look on your face. I don't mind. So the dude's been in stuff before. He was the drunk priest from Constantine, wasn't he?
I don't know. I know he was in some episodes of Justified, which I love. I just don't remember him specific. I don't think it was the biggest role, but he was in that. But I will get to the
scattered here and there.
Yeah, we'll get to the Kents, but I don't want to forget this because this is important. I want to say this relatively early on here that big picture, I think one of the things that I'm most excited by, and I think this is a huge positive, is how full and fully realized this world is. Now, in terms of all of the action and the various adversaries and these plot points, yes, like you were saying or alluding to earlier, that we do run the risk of maybe this is overstuffed, there's too much going on, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But I guess more what I'm thinking of is just the fact that this is a Superman who's a few years into it, and we have the fortress with the robots and crypto, and we have the farm with the Kents, and we have a relationship with Lois, and we have a superhero community. And it's one of those things like we've on the big screen, certainly we've never had all of those pieces in play at the same time. And I'm still concerned. Well, I mean, that's actually one aspect where I look at it as a positive. Like I'm glad that the world is built out that much. And it's not like, oh, we have to wait till the second or third movie to get this. It's like, no, we're already in that. And just to kind of have all of those, to have as much going on at the fortress as there seems to be, yet also have Jonathan and Martha alive on the farm and have that moment where Superman in his costume is lying there injured in the house with Jonathan and Martha, and Lois is there too. Like we're going to have Lois and Jonathan and Martha together. Like that is very exciting.
Yeah, we also don't know what's a flashback and not, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's going to bounce between like, I'm going to go get your boots. Sounds like she made him a costume and he's 20, 21 years old, kind of fucking bouncing around Kansas and shit like that. Like that might be where you see that chunk. But again, we don't know, right? Because there's so much going on. You're like, what is happening where? Now, James Gunn is not like the dude knows his shit, man. He's a great director. He writes the hell out of a movie. Didn't like Creature Commandos, but I didn't like it for a different reason, right? He's not going to go into it and slam a whole bunch of shit together and then be like, fucking, who cares? Like, this is not Creature Commandos. That was in there, but this is it. This is the moment. This is the moment that either puts a glowing light on the entire slate that he has, that board that you always wanted. It puts a light on that entire thing or makes people go, fuck. I guess we'll wait for the next incarnation. Now, based on the way people reacted, do I think they love the movie? Sure. Do I think that they love this incarnation of Superman? Yeah. Some people are always like, already like, this is the best Superman. Settle down. Movie hasn't come out yet. But I don't know how much of that is genuine and how much of that is the fuck Snyder crew. Like, that's my only concern, that we're going to put him up on this pedestal. Not saying that he belong there in some way, shape, or form. The guy's awesome, man. He's a great filmmaker, but how much of that is going to be, we got something else but this, and we've been complaining about this for so long that now that we have this, we're going to suck its dick no matter what. That's, you know, a weird thing that I'm having just about the fan base here.
The explicit tag was already up, but if it hadn't been, that would have done.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's
no, but
hey, look, I didn't use confused boner yet. This one was not a confused boner, right? This is a Metropolis fucking, like, this is a super boner.
Raging, yeah. So on the bit about Martha with the boots, and I could be wrong. My read on that, I don't think that's a flashback. Again, could be totally wrong. I think that's present day. I think he's at a point where he's not sure whether or how to continue. And he's injured and he's back there. I mean, I don't know what the sequence of events is between the fortress and that solar charge up versus the, I don't know, but I think there comes a point in this movie where he's not sure whether or if or how to continue. Okay. And then there's this moment where he's galvanized and he gets back into it and she gives him the boots. But on the note of the reaction, yes, as discussed, this is something that I've really struggled with over the course of this whole promotional campaign. And as I've talked about
even before that, because when they said about it, you were like, now wait a minute, like, let's not start saying anyone walks on water here. Let's see what it looks like first and then decide based on that. But I don't think a lot of people are going to do that.
No. And look, part of that is just deeply personal, that I don't want to set myself up for disappointment. It's like, I want to keep my expectations. And it's hard to do that when everyone's like, we're feasting on a 5-course meal that James Gunn has cooked for us. It's like, all right.
I saw a lot of those.
There's a lot of that. I mean, look, I saw, and I'm not knocking anybody. I mean, I saw reaction videos of people watching the trailer and crying while watching it. I mean, that's not the experience that I had.
Right.
More power to you. Like, I'm glad if you watch that trailer and you were moved to tears and you had that reaction, that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And if it's truly genuine, that's awesome. Yes, I do think there's another contingent out there that's really quick to lift this up.
Yeah.
With one hand and hand in hand with that, push down the prior incarnation. And so there are a bunch of different contingents, but, you know, bear with me on a quick little anecdote here, because I have felt myself there's a gut feeling that does come over me when I see some of these overly glowing responses.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, part of it is just, hey, like, let's settle down. Let's wait. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Part of it is like, how genuine is this? But I'll give people the benefit of the doubt. Years and years ago, when I was a little kid, I remember going with my parents to see one of the Meet the Parents movies. It wasn't the original. It was one of the sequels with, you know, Ben Stiller and De Niro and whatnot. And one of the sequels, they were not as good as the original. And I remember being in the theater, and there was this one moviegoer, this woman in the row ahead of us, who was laughing, like
howling,
cackling, like so loud at a movie that arguably was not that funny.
Right.
And, you know, it was a little grating, and she was definitely an outlier in terms of the audience. Right. But I remember after we were talking about that, I remember my mom, bless her heart, saying, look, you don't know what that woman was going through.
Correct.
She might have been sick, and this was her first opportunity to go out and have a good time, and she got a lot out of this. And that always stood with me, right? And so when I see people crying over this trailer, it's like, nah, man, that's not my experience with this.
Right.
But this might mean something to you that's its own thing, right? And I respect it. And so I always try to keep that in mind. And I'm glad that people seem so genuinely excited. Honestly, it does make it harder for me to manage my own expectations, but I'm glad that people seem to love it so much. And honestly, we'll get to some audience comments in a few minutes, but I would say the predominant vibe of what we saw in our Facebook group was like overwhelmingly positive, like overwhelmingly. Which is, I'm glad. Like, I'm really glad. And I'm not saying I'm in opposition to that. I generally share that.
And like, the people who I saw are motherfuckers in the know. Like, they're not pieces of shit. Like, they're not like fucking this one's gonna die, blah blah blah. Like, they're not. Like, the people who you interact with, I interact with, at least in a tertiary fashion. I don't think they're doing that for that. I think they're genuinely excited. When I saw the YouTube comments, though, one of them was like, thank God for James Gunn. What are you going to put white smoke in here? Is the next fucking Pope? Like, relax. Like, it's a trailer. It's dope. But we don't know what it's going to be at the end. Like, we don't know yet. So the praise was like they already saw the movie and was like, this is the fucking best thing since Jesus walked on water. Like, if you're excited, I love it. If you cried, awesome. But you can't rate anything yet. Like, nothing. They didn't show anything extra. They showed really dope dialogue. They showed a cool moment between the best moment between Superman and Lois. They gave away a bunch of shit, but there's a bunch of stuff that we don't know what's going on. So far, if you look at it, you're like, this is a clusterfuck. There's shit all over the place. But I understand why people focused on the Superman of it all. And they're like, that's the Superman I always wanted. I understand that. But if you're going, that's the Superman because this one, you're looking at it the wrong way. In my opinion, you're looking at it the wrong way.
Well, so on that note, and I don't mean to single this buddy of mine out, but Mike Rorson in our Facebook group. Mike is a good friend of Mike San Gregorio, who's been on the show many times. And the three of us went to Comic-Con years ago. And Rorson's been on the podcast. We did an episode on Smallville season 11 years ago.
Nice.
We were buddies and all that. But his comment in our Facebook group said, definitely doesn't seem like this Pa Kent would have suggested a bus full of kids maybe die.
Right.
And that's the shit that bothers me.
What kind of shit?
That's no F-bombs for me, but you'll get that. The explicit tag's already up. But that's the sort of thing.
Because that's comparing, that's not identifying. Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to relitigate this. We've talked about this at length, but
right.
So I'll leave it at that. But all to say that, are there the so-called quote unquote Snyder cultists who themselves perhaps need to move on, arguably.
Yeah.
But are there also people out there who hated the Snyder movies, who take every opportunity they can to bring it up? Yes. And what's like, from my perspective, the latter is what I encounter more than anything else.
Way more.
And it's definitely just in my own experience. I'm not trying to generalize, but in my own experience. Right. And it's the sort of thing, to your point earlier, it's like, man, this movie came out 12 years ago. Yeah.
That's like, come on, man. Like, look, it's there. But just like if you got a favorite band and they put out a shit album, the 5 good albums that come out after it, do you go, yeah, but that fucking one, let it go, man. Let it go. If you listen, if you never want to watch it again, guess fucking what? You don't have to watch it. You don't. You can watch this one and everything else. You can rewind to Reeve. You can watch all of the animated stuff and act like it doesn't exist. But the amount of mileage that people put into it and get mad at, and I'm not saying that comment's actually kind of funny, but like the amount of mileage that people put in to getting angry and immediately going, this is better than that. You don't fucking know that yet. You might like the way it looks. You might like the tone of it. But as of right now, we don't know anything. We don't know anything. We know that I like the dichotomy between the Superman and the Clark. Like, I do. I'm into it. But we don't know what this thing's going to look like. So that's fine. But identify the parts that you like. You don't immediately have to go back and be like, and fucking like, dude, let it go, man. Let it go.
Yeah. By the way, I'm really having fun. I feel like I was holding this in all day, and this is really, is really great. Like I said, I showed it to my wife and my son, and I wanted to do that just to share that with them. But also I was curious for my son in particular to kind of see it through his eyes. And the point in the trailer where Superman, all scuffed up from battle, says, "Hey buddy, eyes up here," and shoots up into the sky. He was watching it, and I saw his head go up, watching Superman go up, and he was like, wow. And I was like, that's beautiful. So I love that. And that, but like
immediately afterwards, is that him getting wrecked right down to earth?
Yeah, seemingly. But
like, Jesus Christ.
But I want to go back to Pa Kent though on that front. So the key, I would arguably the key line, and it's the line that all of the social media posts from the official channels used: your choices, your actions. That's what make you who you are. Yeah. Sounds an awful lot like it's about what you do. It's about action. I mean, I feel like when we see the actual scene, there's going to be another beat where he's like, where he says that line.
Listen, man, we know they listen.
Yeah, it's true. No, but how, because I heard this from a couple of people and I had a similar reaction. Pa's delivery of the line, not the line itself, but the actual delivery. Anything strike you about it? If not, that's fine.
No, like I was just like, that was, I mean, it was a sick line. Like I didn't really look into it too much. Why? But What did you get out of it?
It was so before we knew who the line was coming from, I was like, is that Jor-El? Like it was, I don't know. It was hard to initially ascribe.
It's too cleaned up is what you're saying.
Not
like
too
it's
cleaned
too,
up. Like
it's not like down home. I throw bales of hay and shit.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe that, but it's more, it felt so labored and drawn out. And I don't know if that was an editing thing to make it fit the space or if, look, we don't know what's going on with the Kents in this movie. Is Pa ill? I mean, it didn't come across like kind of an energetic, vibrant line delivery.
Also, like, does Ma die? Like, cause with them crying, does he find out that Pa is sick? Does Ma not make it? Like, again, so those questions are still up in the air. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And then, well, you asked me about Martha. I guess it was
Dude, she looked like Edith Bunker.
Well, that's the I cleaned your boots for you, son. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if stereotypical is the right word, but I just feel like it's one line, right? I can't extrapolate too much from that, but I wouldn't have minded a little bit more of a vital, vibrant Martha Kent. I know in certain iterations, the Kents are extremely elderly. In other versions, they're younger and all that. So that's fine. But it was just, I don't know. She just came across as like a little hokier than...
Too hokey?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's their point, right? Like if you're creating this Superman that's like, I'm helping everybody and yeehaw and shit like that, like maybe that's genuinely how they acted there. Yeah. I mean, you have, so like Smallville's always painted as this place that's like the town next door and everyone shops at the same, place and everyone's beeping and waving at everybody. Maybe that's just how it, like, perfect example. My Hunter's grandparents, they're awesome. They're from West Milford. They've lived there pretty much their entire lives. They're hunters. They're like, she cooks all the food. He hunts it and stuff like that. She's very much like that. Like everything comes off kind of like a hokey down home. Like, so there are people like maybe they're just really leaning into that to juxtapose that when he gets to Metropolis and he's trying to walk through people and they're banging into him. Maybe that's a part of, he's like, hey man, like this isn't the world that I expected. I'm still going to help it, but like I expected more of this shit and that's not what I'm getting. So maybe they're just trying to lean into that.
Yeah. Fair. Look, I'm just happy that both Kents are there. That means the world to me. And that moment, the somewhat questionable delivery aside, and maybe I'm really being overly harsh, but just the message that Jonathan conveys to Clark in that moment, clearly at a point of extreme self-doubt. That's great. I love that. Right. And like I said, that scene that, unless there's trickery in terms of how they put it together, really does seem like Lois is there present at the farmhouse with Jonathan and Martha, which I would love to see that. But, and, on the note of Lois, kind of circling back, the fact that she knows the secret and they're in, even if it's an early relationship, they're in a relationship. I love that. I truly hope we see the moment of him revealing his identity or her figuring out the identity.
Yeah.
If that's already happened and we don't see that, I can live with that, but it would be cool to see. It would be cool to see that actually play out when they're having that interview. And she has that line about, did you consult with the president first? As she's saying that, we cut to Lex. Now, this is just because it's on the brain because we've been talking a lot about President Luthor in the comics in the early 2000s. I
like that actor too. Nicholas I like that Hoult, dude a lot.
We'll talk more about him. But I mean, do you think there's any chance of, I don't think Lex would actually be the president in this movie, but maybe he's running for president. Maybe there's some sort of angle there.
I didn't even think about that because they did go right from that to him.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder if there's something to that.
Dude, that's a good, unless they're intentionally covering up the spots on the White House because he spends a lot of time in that tower.
Yeah.
So maybe running.
That's what I'm thinking.
Which is a possibility. Maybe he won, but they're in that like transfer of power phase and that's going to lead into something else. Yeah. I even think about it. That's actually a really good point, especially because they go one from like, why mention it if you didn't focus on the president before?
Yeah. It was interesting. We also
see what president are they talk like, because they could be talking about the president of whatever place that he went to too. So
true.
I just don't want, here's what I don't want. And I say this all the time. Gene Hackman, awesome. Kevin Spacey did a version of a really weird version of Gene Hackman. Jesse Eisenberg did whatever the fuck Jesse Eisenberg did. I want my stoic Lex. Like I really do. I want my planner Lex. I want the guy who who is a little bit more cold and not so much of this shit that they do all the time. And so far, from what I'm seeing, it looks like we're going to get that. He's like, no, this is going to be the way it is. And I run shit and fucking this guy's an it. I was like, he's not wrong. Right. So I want more of that. I don't want all the jerky motions. And I don't want, the quick snap. Like, I don't want that. I want this Lex to be a little bit more serious. So I think we're going to get that.
Yeah.
And I think that dude delivers, man. He's awesome. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Again, we could be wrong, but I think that's the Lex we're going to get. Thankfully. I mean, although I did like the Eisenberg version as we talked about, but yeah, I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far of Nicholas Hoult. And now that we've got a clearer sense of the characterization and Lex's whole worldview, which tracks very much with what we would associate with the character, this whole notion of Superman is not a man. He's an it.
Right.
And he's become the focal point of the world's conversation. And I cannot accept that. I mean, that feels very Lex Luthor.
And then does he coin Superman? Because at the one point he's like super man, like it seems like he's the one that kind of evokes the name.
Yeah, I don't know, but a while back, Rosenbaum, of course, who played Lex on Smallville, had Nicholas Hoult on his podcast, and Hoult was talking about how he grew up watching Smallville and was a huge fan, and Rosenbaum's his favorite Lex.
Nice.
And
nice.
I think there's still so little to go on, but I mean, I feel like if were to say there's any prior Lex, if there's any flavor of a prior Lex at play,
maybe that one,
I think it's Rosenbaum. So
I'm good with
which
that.
To me,
I mean, I still haven't seen the show, but with the way that everyone talks about it and his performance, if you're going to do a version, an older version of anybody, that I'm okay with.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I loved what we saw with that. Now, speaking of Lex, and we had talked about the engineer and the fortress. So one of the things that they give away here, right, is this infiltration of the fortress. And we see the engineer creating these hand saws or whatever.
Yeah, she could do,
and taking apart the robots. And that tracks with that first teaser trailer where you saw Superman cradling the robot. And that extended preview that we saw gave us quintessential James Gunn, right? An artificial life form that has humanity.
He looks at me, yeah.
Right. So we see where that kind of all ties together. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little worried for Crypto. I don't think Crypto is going to be killed in this battle at the fortress, but I am worried about seeing Crypto knocked around. I think Crypto might have a little bit of a tough time in that fortress
I think
battle.
He does, because he did some knocking, and that's what we saw. But I think Ultraman, whoever that is just going to face palm him and kind of throw him down, and then we have the hurt Crypto point of it. Like, look, if James Gunn likes to do anything, it's kill animals. Guardians of the Galaxy had everyone crying. That shit was hard for me to watch and shit. I was like, justice for fucking so I don't think he's above, he did it and really did it in Guardians of the Galaxy. So do I think he's going to kill him? No. Do I think he's going to get beat up pretty bad? Yeah, dude. Yeah.
On the note of Crypto, how do you feel about the prominence of Crypto in the marketing materials?
You know what? I was thinking about that before. When someone's like, it needs a sidekick. Right? Just give them a sidekick, right? And they kind of just show up. I hope we kind of saw the extent of it, right? Laying on him on the farm, dope. Being the one to pull him back to the thing, great. Being part of the defense, presumably Superman's not going to be there, or else they wouldn't be able to run through that whole crew. Crypto's there. It could be after he gets juiced up with Sun and takes off, and Lex's crew is he's gone and shit. And then they kind of move in. Maybe there's that. I also want to know how the hell he got in. So there's a bunch of things that I want to know. I don't need more Crypto. I don't. I have the right amount. I don't need him to be the person right at the climax who comes in and saves the day. I don't need that. I think it's great that he's there though, but I don't need too much more than we've already seen.
Yeah. It's been, I mean, I get it. I get it. I guess I don't feel that strongly about it, but I am struck by not so much in the teaser and the full trailer per se, but in these various promotional campaigns that they have going on. Obviously Milkbone, obviously it makes sense, but it's just, and even with the Super Bowl, right? Instead of a proper preview, we went the Puppy Bowl route and they did the thing with, it's all fine. It's just interesting to me that we lean so much into the Crypto. But
look, man, you could distract your average person with fucking dogs and shit. So maybe it's just like, hey, we'll give him 7 more minutes of Crypto jumping on Superman and no one's going to give a shit. But everyone was like, hey, could we see an actual teaser trailer though? Or a trailer in general?
How'd you feel about the music in this?
So actually, before I answer, I want to ask you, because I think way long ago, probably when we did Justice League Gray, I brought up the fact that the score was in, both Batman score was in it and the Williams score was in it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're like, I don't think we need that score. Like, we have a new one. Like, why are we doing that? So I want to know, is the amount of Williams score in there good for you? Or you're like, hey, I wish they would have created something new? Because honestly, the soundtrack for Man of Steel, I thought was dope. I thought it was awesome. Like, the first time he takes flight like that, the music in that trailer, I think I had more of a reaction to that because it was new. Now it's not the Williams score all the way through, but it's chopped up in there. So what do you think about them going back to the well for that? Or do you think they should have just let that go?
Yeah. So I guess that when that came up in the past with you, I'm sure it was when we were talking about the Justice is Gray, the black and white version of the Snyder cut. And we were talking about that in contrast to Justice League, which did use the Danny Elfman Batman theme and the John Williams theme, as opposed to the Snyder cut, which used the Tom Hulkenberg and the Hans Zimmer score and all that. But we've gone back and forth. This has come up a lot on the podcast, this kind of question of the John Williams score. Is it the theme for the Christopher Reeve version of the character, or is it the theme for Superman in general?
Right.
And I have kind of come around to the idea, like, in my heart of hearts, I really do like the idea of each iteration having its own distinct score. Yeah. And we've gotten some great ones over, like Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman has a great theme. And so I feel like if you rely too much on the Williams score, it does, I don't know, maybe it kind of limits an opportunity to do something new and distinct and have it stand apart. However, the Williams score is so iconic that this idea that it's so innately conjures Superman, now, I'm okay with that.
My question though is to whom? Because if you're in your 30s and you've watched the old ones, you're like, fucking yay, that's bring back Christopher Reeve. Your average person under 25, like, new people are going to go see the movie. They're like, yeah, the movie's like, the music's great, but it's not, unless they've watched it, which they may have, right? But there's only a group of, it's a large group, but the group of people, it's like, that's the song, and other people are just gonna be like, fucking cool, Superman. Like, I don't know if it's having the same effect that on your average moviegoer who might or may not like the movies, like the recent ones, to people like us. That's like, that brings me back to this moment, to 78 to 79. I don't know if it's going to have the same effect on everyone else. Do you think it's fan service? Like, do you think, okay, better question. Do you think that's even going to be in the movie? Or do you think they just put that in for the trailer? No,
I think that's going to be in the movie. I think that's a good question, but do I think it's fan service or not? I mean, yes, in the sense that I think the studio and Gunn had a very clear goal, right, of creating something that's evocative of the most generally beloved and successful big screen version of the character. And so yes, I mean, I think that's very purposeful. I mean, watching this trailer, I'm not musically sophisticated enough to put this in technical terms, but generally what the composer John Murphy is doing in the music that we're hearing, I mean, the Williams score is the basis, but then Murphy's putting his own spin on it.
Yes.
And I like that. However, there's that part in the trailer where Superman lands in the streets of Metropolis and that guy comes over to him and is helping him up, which I like that. Very, very reminiscent of Spider-Man 2, right? When they help him out on the train and everything, which is a great moment. But it's at that point where we get like the very traditional bum, 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 bum. And it didn't ruin it for me, but it did. At that moment, I thought like, I like Murphy really doing his own thing. And when we kind of reverted to the like very default Williams stuff, I don't know. It didn't really do that much for me.
I love John Murphy for his horror stuff. He did 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later. That motherfucker can write some haunting shit. So when I found out it was him, I'm like, interesting. So we're going to get John Murphy style stuff, which I'm a fan of. But for as skilled as he is, sure, I'm sure he's like, yeah, sure, I'll throw some stuff in. But if they tag you to do this movie, you're going to be like, okay, but do I get do I get to do stuff too? Like, you pulled me in. You could have just got anyone to do it then. Like, if you're going to use me, I want some of that shit. Like, I want that 28 days later theme when Lex shows up. Like, I want what he's good at. And he makes really haunting horror movie stuff. So I think if you bring him in, you're like, hey, copy this. He's going to be like, all right, well, then what are you paying me for? Throwing it in is fine. But like, I don't know if it should be there the whole time. That's for sure.
Yeah. So other just kind of random moments. It's fleeting, but I was very pleased that we got that quick moment of Clark and Jimmy at the planet, listening to music and dancing, goofing around. That was great. I hope that they really lean into that friendship and that they do as much as they can with Jimmy. And then
so is Kat taking a selfie when the Hammer of Botswana or whatever the hell it is kicking the shit out of Superman outside?
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talked about Superman being locked up, Metamorpho being there, that woman in a dress in the cell next to them. I mean, I don't know who that's supposed to be. I mean, I assume the idea is metahumans generally being rounded up. I mean, I don't know exactly, but yeah, that was intriguing. I don't know quite what to make of that.
At first I was like, oh shit, what if it's Carol Ferris? Pink's kind of her thing and shit like that, even though she wouldn't be locked up in there if she's not a Star Sapphire yet. But like, again, if you're going to put them with people, you put them with someone. I mean, those cells are like, if it's in Stag, those places are made for metahumans. So you have a guy who looked like a shadow on the left-hand side, and you have this lady who looks like a fucking secretary sitting on the right. She's got to be so like they're got like it's got. I don't know if it's going to be somebody, but you figure why have her there if she's not going to interact or whatever is going on.
Yeah,
and he gets out. We saw that part. He does punch out.
Yeah, for sure. Any other moments that stood out to you that we haven't talked about yet?
Dude, the Guy Gardner slap is great. That's like quintessential. Like, I love that. I loved Holt in the chair, the T-spheres, like all that stuff looks dope. Can I take a sidestep real quick? I understand that Frank Grillo was anti-Marvel because he wanted a Crossbones movie and he didn't feel like they went into the character enough. Fine, I get it. But he's just playing Crossbones again. Like, he's playing he's the military guy, right? Because that's Rick Flag Sr.
Yeah. Who we saw in animated form in Creature Commando.
It's the same fucking dude. It's the same character all the time. So I'm just like, and I know that they're friends. I don't know if they were prior, but now he's in everything. Like Frank Grillo, he's the equivalent of Rooker and like all the rest of these people that like always get put into these flicks. So I'm just like, yeah, but when I saw him, I'm like, he's kind of like that one note. Like, if you need a gruff military guy, like he was in The Purge playing the same fucking character. I was just like, if you need the military guy that's kind of Punisher-esque who does not like Marvel, that's the guy that you use. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, he looks exactly the same.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like overall, I thought that, I mean, it's very, very action packed and so I think that plays into the theme of the movie, right? About Clark taking action, following his moral compass, despite what those around him might be saying or criticizing. And so I like that. And I feel like, we've had some recent DC movies like the tail end of the DCEU, like The Flash or Aquaman, where, visually, well, a little.
See, you brought it up this time. I didn't.
But like a little wonky. I mean, I feel like we look at the effects and the action here, and I feel like there's a level of quality that those last few movies were not attaining.
Way
and
more.
So like this looks very
more
polished. It looks like they put the time and the resources into it. So that's cool. And and I mean, just the fact that I've been saying this for years, but pulling from the Silver Age, right? Bringing like the fortress and the fortress robots and crypto and stuff. Like show us stuff we haven't seen before. And I'm glad that we're seeing that. And even something like Lex referring to Superman as it harkens right back to the Grant Morrison New 52 Action Comics run. Like that was Lex's thing there too. So I like all those.
It's weird
pulls.
because I know we saw a lot, but I still feel like we saw the same stuff, the same flag raising, him jumping out and saving the girl from the explosion. And we got a lot more conversation in this one.
Yeah.
But if you look at the action beats, they're primarily the same. They didn't really show. They showed the kaiju. They showed that dope domino effect of buildings, which, by the way, motherfuckers, if Superman caused that, you're going to be like, Superman's busting up the whole fucking town. And no one shut up. I don't want to hear it. but like it's probably what was his name. But that domino effect of buildings is wild, man. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Visually, it looks larger than life, man. Like the kaiju thing that he's fighting, it's really dope. I hope it all fits in cohesively. And after final, because I know like after he's done with it, someone else edits it, and it's a whole thing. I hope it's true to whatever he wanted, but because he runs the place, I don't think we're gonna get something different. So I'm hoping that. I mean, look, dude put a lot of time and effort into it, man. And again, it's Superman. It's your flagship shit. So if this works, it's going to set a good tone for everything else. Plus, you have the anti-Snyder people who are just going to say it works no matter what. But I got hope. Like I saw that, I was like, it's going to be dope. It's going to be dope. I got really excited. I'm surprised it didn't move the needle for you at all. Like I was like, wow. Like I expect you to be like, yeah, that's kind of dope. But I mean, I also understand why it doesn't either. Are you still just hesitant about the thing in general?
It's mostly just about trying to manage my expectations and set myself up for a good viewing experience where I can come away being like, wow, as opposed to going in being like, this is going to be the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then it doesn't live up to that and I'm disappointed. But I mean, I guess I'll walk back my initial statement slightly in that I am, if the needle moved, it is actually
Positive.
seeing and hearing Clark and Lois and Lex. That was a positive. And that was an open question about how are these characters going to play? How are they going to play off of each other? And so I was pleased by what we saw on that front. So that was probably my biggest positive takeaway. I mean, at this point in time, other than just managing expectations, I'd be hard pressed to say that I have many true concerns.
Right.
Like I said, I do kind of question what the ultimate tone and amount of humor is going to be in the movie. And I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm not saying that the movie should be humorless, but I'm just saying that if it ends up being the case that many or most of moments that could have been played for their weight and their significance are undercut with humor, that might grate on me a little bit when we see it.
And
so that's
that was my
only
issue.
Concern.
Right. And that was my issue with him falling beat up, because we were like, heavy start. It's a good start. You dropped the hammer this time. It wasn't like him floating above space. Like he's beat up. And it's just like, and then you have a real stoic trailer after that with just the whistle, take me home, boom. I don't know if ruin is the right word, but you do most certainly make people go, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? And then whatever happened is now dulled because you had to add that in, which to me, I'm like, no one's paying me to make movies. I wouldn't did that though. Not right after it like that. Maybe when he rides like the solar orgasmatron, maybe you can have him jump on him then. But like right after that, like I don't know if I was a bit sorry. I don't know if, but like you, I would have just let that have him carry him back and have something to do it afterward. I don't know if that moment called for that. Like that was a little. I was like, oh.
Yeah, we'll see. And then the other thing too is just I'm curious I don't know. How curious can I be? I think it's pretty clear what the theme is going to be. This notion of your actions defining you and taking that action, I guess, despite in the face of this public backlash, right? And being told you're not doing the right thing or not going through the proper channels, whatever it might be. And maybe that is what the movie will ultimately say about the character. And maybe that's sufficient. I guess that's the other kind of big thing is just like what this movie ultimately has to say and what it has to say that's distinct from what we've seen before. Right. I mean, I don't know. And that's more of a question and less of an outright concern. Yeah. So no, I mean, I remain optimistic about it. Like, I want it to be successful. I will say there are a few moments in there. I mean, we had already seen him getting pelted with the cans and whatnot, but there's a scene where Ultraman, shoves his face into the pavement.
Yeah.
And then the other scene where Lex cracks him, right? It's Lex who does it, right? With that baton or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, those were particularly, I mean, those were the two scenes when I was saying to my wife, like, oh, we should show it to Milo. I was like, oh, there are a couple of beats that are pretty violent.
Gunn's going to make a violent movie. He's going to make you love the characters, but he's not going to pull punches on A, animals getting hurt, and B, people beating other people up. He's just like, wait. So I have two questions. These are my interview questions for you. Mask comes off of Ultraman. Are they going to push? They're not going to make it an other Earth. They're not going to do it. or not going to. Plus, we didn't see any Brainiac. I realize that. I keep forgetting he's even in it. We didn't see Brainiac, but do you think
Brainiac's in it?
Isn't that didn't one of the things they zoom up on that big weird thing in the sky? Isn't he like? Didn't you see his face at one point?
I think that's still an open question as to what that is. But no, going to your question about who's under the Ultraman mask.
Yeah. Do you think it's Lex's version and it ends up being Bizarro?
Yeah, that's
or a Bizarro without the backwards. I don't think they do the backwards talk version.
No,
but I think they're keeping him quiet, much like Black Noir in the comic, not in the show. Because they're not going to make it him.
Him who?
Like a David Corning Sweat version. And it's not going to be Henry Cavill because you'd fucking light the building on fire.
No, it won't be Cavill. But no, I mean, I would be surprised if it's not David Corn Sweat under there. I feel like it's going to be a double of Superman. I agree with you. I doubt they would go the alternate universe route.
Not yet. Yeah.
I do feel like it's going to be a Lex creation a la Bizarro, whether or not he's backward speaker. I don't know that they would go that route, but I do. I mean, I feel like there's got to be a very specific reason, right? Like why we're not seeing this person's face. And I feel like that's I don't know what else, what else would kind of yield a big response. Yeah. I don't know. That's my prediction, but we'll see. What's the other question?
And I know this is kind of like far reaching and I'm putting you on the spot, but I just thought about it. Post-credit sequence. You know, there's going to be at least 2. What do you want to see after this movie's over, regardless of how it ends? Do you want it to then shift over to Gotham with maybe like a figure watching TV? Like, what do you want next to whet your palate for what's coming up next? I know there's a lot of stuff on the slate, but what would you want to see?
I mean, I guess what I want to see and what I expect they'll show us is something Supergirl related.
You know what? That's what while I was asking the question, I was like, shifting to Supergirl would probably be your best bet.
Yeah. I mean, I think like I think they just finished filming that. We know that's coming down the pike. That's next summer, June 2026. Right. And I mean, I feel like, you do a mid or post credit scene of Clark in the fortress and Kara is there, something like that. Yeah. Or we get a Jason Momoa as Lobo tease, something like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm predicting, but also what I'd like to see. I feel like that's a safe bet. And then I feel like, I mean, that might be it. If they do 2 things, like let's say they do a mid-credit and a post-credit, I feel like one of them will be Supergirl Lobo related. And I feel like the other one will just be a comedic gag.
Right.
I don't know, whatever that'll be.
The more I think about that last scene where they're kissing and he's putting on his boots and that big glowy thing's outside, I think that's the end of the movie. I think that's after the climax. I think that's the next thing.
Oh, I can see that. And then
he takes off and then fucking credits. Like that's what I think. Because it seems like at that point it's very... I don't know. It seems like it's more calm. So I think that thing appears and she's like, go ahead, man, go do what you got to do. Fucking boots go on, give her a little kiss and he's out. Roll credits. Like that's what I think that part is.
I could see that. All right. Should we go through some of our audience responses?
Oh God. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm primarily pulling from our Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan group on Facebook. And we got a ton of responses, which was really cool. So I'll run through them. Anything you want to respond to. So JJ Hodges says, dude, I'm on cloud 9. This is perfect. I will literally not hear any criticisms for a day at least. LOL. Jared Kilborn says, I teared up. I'm ready now. Joseph Abe Martin says, I love it, Anthony. I do. It really sells the movie so well and is everything Superman is about. Our pal Sean Hendricks from Fat Moose Comics says, meh. Just kidding. It looks wonderful.
I know. He's such an ass.
Well, he added the spaces. So when I saw the notification come up, I only saw the first part and I was like, oh, okay. Yannick says, the first minute of this is really what I want out of an adaptation of the character. Pretty stoked for this. Logan Smith, this is interesting. He said, for all of us who have been furious for years, we never got Brendan Fraser as Superman. This trailer made me feel like we're basically getting that. Yeah. Yep. I didn't think about that, but it's, by the way, and we talked about the personality of Clark, but I really do like David Corn Sweat. I mean, I have to, now that we're actually hearing him speak and seeing him in action more.
Absolutely.
You know what? I will also say this. I stand by everything I said before about the costume, that if I had my way, I wish they had just picked one costume and adapted
instead of an amalgamation
Yes. However, now that we're beyond the realm of those on-set photos and that first official photo they released that I still think was the wrong first photo to release officially, but now they're actually seeing it in action, I'm on board. It's not my all-time favorite costume, but I'm good with it. It's fine. Like I'm good.
Honestly, as soon as I saw that New 52 collar style, I'm in. I don't know. There's something about that collar. Like I like it.
Right on. Justin from Fat Moose says, I'm looking forward to this movie. This is the Superman movie I've been waiting for. And then he showed off his Superman tattoo, the Kingdom Come Superman.
Right.
And the line from Crisis on Infinite Earths that even in the darkest times, hope cuts through. Hope is the light that lifts us out of darkness. Right on, Justin.
Yep.
Craig Gorman says,
that's OG recipe. I love that.
Yeah. Craig says, really liked this. I enjoyed Man of Steel, but this seems like a mashup of various interpretations of Superman. All-Star, Modern Definitely. DC, and Reeve. It feels authentic. And similarly, our pal Ed Gross, Superman historian and author, expressed a similar sentiment where he says, it feels as though James Gunn has nicely done what I'd hoped and what we discussed, capturing the essence of the feeling Donner's film gave us, very nicely updated for today. If Dick Donner and Zack Snyder had a baby, it just might be this film.
Listen, man, that's the best comment I've heard. Because I felt the same way when I was like, this is a Superman that's like, but I'm doing good. Why does everyone hate that? Because you live in a world where people suck. That's why. So that hope is going to shine through. So I do. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's my star comment so far. Definitely.
John Bast says, looking forward to this movie. Kenny says, wow, that's amazing. Super amazing. Eric Noriega, I was sitting around refreshing YouTube until it finally popped up. I was not disappointed. Jason Garza, time for the reign of the Superman.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jared Cardos, he had a few comments, but one we've kind of already addressed, but I definitely flagged this as I was going through. He said, oh, wait, I just thought of something. So the crux of the story seems to be that Superman stops a conflict in the Middle East, which Luthor uses his power and influence to make the world divided on Superman. Looks very similar. It's like, yeah. Tom O'Sullivan looks great. Peacemaker trailer looks great. Ironheart trailer looks great. Andor ended wonderfully. Yeah. All in all, great. So he's having a great time, which is wonderful.
I'm with him, right? Like, as I always talk about, I'm going to go see every superhero movie anyway. I said this to Sarah when we went to go see Thunderbolts, which I love. Thunderbolts was amazing, especially for someone who struggled with abusive households, addiction. The movie was incredible. It was really good. But as we're watching that, I was like, babe, I'm living in the best possible time someone like me can live in. I grew up reading comics, and now we have this deluge, right, of comic movies. Whether you like them or not, they're here. They're here at the best time. People 20 years ago, 30 or 40 years, like, they didn't get that. If they read comics, they watched maybe a shitty looking TV show, and they had to be like, this is what we have, and this is it. We have all this stuff. And it's just a great time to be a nerd and a comic book person. Like, it's great. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. Mike Rhodes said, I still remain cautiously optimistic. I'm not certain what it is exactly that I need to see to breathe a sigh of relief.
Good call.
Yes, this movie is going to be awesome. Which I agree with Mike. I mean, when he said that kind of crystallized a little bit of it for me as well, where it's like, yeah, like, I'm excited for the movie. Like, I feel like it has a lot of potential, but yeah, I don't
have the thing yet.
Yeah, I don't know what it would need to be for me to be like, yes, like, oh, I'm feasting now. I don't think you'll ever hear me say that. I also don't think. By the way, one thing I don't think you'll ever see me do is take the photo of myself looking up as fans are being encouraged to do. I'm not knocking anyone who does it. That's great. You know when I'll do that? When I come out of the movie and I love it. Then I'll look up all night long.
I saw a bunch of my cosplay friends shoot that, and I thought that was cool because they're in costume. Like, and one dude actually, the one dude I do follow looks just like David Courting Sweat, loves the character, already got the updated suit. When he took it, I was like, dope. He even like jumped, I guess, to like get the effect. It looked dope. Yeah.
Right on. Our mutual friend, Gavin Struby, who connected us years ago.
I was like, look at this motherfucker coming out of nowhere. What up?
Yeah. I don't know that he listens to the show much, but maybe he'll listen to this one that we're talking about the movie and you're on. But he says, yeah, that's all cool. More Guy Gardner, please. He just loves that. Loves that bowl cut. Big Nathan Fillion fan, I take it. And as am I. I watched most of Castle. I haven't watched any of The Rookie, though. I watched Two Guys, a Girl, in a Pizza Place that he was on.
Was he in that?
Oh, yeah.
I remember Ryan Reynolds in that.
Not from the very beginning. He came in relatively early on, though, I think. But anyway.
Wait, he was in it when there was a pizza place or when it's just two guys and a girl?
I think it was after the pizza place was
Got
next.
it. All right.
Yeah. Our pal Chris McKenzie says, I've watched it a few times now, and overall I love it. The interview scene with Lois and Clark was a great way to start. She's asking the tough questions, and he's getting frustrated because he just wants to help. Love their dynamic, and I can't wait to see more of it. Looks like it's going to have a lot of action, and the visual effects look very good, especially in regards to more recent superhero films, which shall remain nameless. Well, I already named them, so it's all right.
It's right. I ain't got to rename names. We know exactly what you're talking about, man.
He says, I don't think I really have any criticisms at this point. We also have Zach Walliner, one of our old pals from the comic book shop. He's another takes many opportunities to share his displeasure with the Snyder films, right? Although that's not where he goes here, but he says, I'm hoping you liked this one. I'm like throwing down the gauntlet here. All right. He says, I feel that if you're a
I hope you like this one, Dick. Like that's what it felt like just doing afterwards.
He said, I still remember Walliner when he did not like Man of Steel. And I remember the photo he posted on social media when he rented from Redbox BVS. He didn't go to the theaters. Right. And I remember the photo of him holding up the disc of BVS with a look of like, I guess I'll watch this.
Right.
That just always stuck with me. But he says, I feel that if you're a Superman fan or even just a superhero comic book film fan and you don't get chills from watching this, I don't even know what to say at this point. Very stoked for it. Looks awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't have chills, but it was good. Terrence says, this is Superman. Let's go. Our buddy Ralph messing around. He says, terrible. I mean, what's this alien guy about? He can't just do whatever he wants on our planet. Amazing. We have laws here.
Amazing.
And then our other mutual friend, Perry Constantine from Superhero Cinephiles. He says, watched it once, then immediately watched it again. I love everything about it, from the interview to the conversation with Ma telling Clark she'll get his boots for him, the action, the music. Feels like Gunn is hitting all the right notes. I even picked up on a vocal shift when Corin Sweat went from Clark to Superman mode.
Oh, everyone picked that. Dude, if you didn't pick that up, you missed a big part of that. That was so dope. I love that part.
Yeah, the bit about, all right, Cronkite, and then, yes, Miss Lane. Yeah, it was good. He looked
dope.
great. He had the vibe. No, it was good. He says, so Perry says, I do have a few theories on the Ultraman character. I'm wondering if they're mixing together Morrison's Ultramarine Corps storyline from JLA and What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Okay. Or since it looks like we've got the engineer, I wonder if Ultraman is going to become Apollo.
Oh,
I'm no authority expert here, so I can't really weigh in too much. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. That is intriguing to me. There's got to be.
Yeah.
I'm trusting that there's a good payoff, and it's not just like we're watching Black Noir for 2.5 hours for no reason.
Yeah.
Real quick, then jumping over to X. Our buddy Jan says, maybe you'll surprise me and disagree, but I was thinking about how this looked tailor-made for you, meaning me, in a lot of ways.
That's actually what I thought. That's why when you're still hopefully optimistic, I thought you would get a little bit more, but then I realized that you've seen so many of these. You've seen so many Superman incarnations that you have your favorite here and your favorite here, your favorite here. So I was excited that you'd be excited. Am I shocked that you're not like flipping tables over? Not really, but at the same time, I was like, it does seem like, based just on the conversations that we had with that hopeful Superman in a world with no hope, I was like, yeah, that's right up his alley, man.
Yeah. Again, overall, I'm encouraged, but that kind of speaks to our one of our final comments here from Luke Deckard, who says, what does he say? I'm seeing too much of what I've already seen on the big and small screens to feel excited. Mild interest is all I got.
Okay.
Which I do understand. I mean, I do understand. I mean, I feel like
not wrong. Not wrong. I think we mentioned something pretty similar in the beginning. Not wrong.
Yeah. So again, I appreciate everyone who wrote in here. We had a couple more on our Facebook page, not the group, but the Digging for Kryptonite page. Brett Dunlap says, love the moment where he goes, hey buddy, eyes up here. And he takes off into the sky. Yeah. We love that moment too. Yeah. And Tom, I think from Fat Moose, if I'm not mistaken, but he said, how did Pa Kent sound a little weak to you guys? I wonder if he's struggling with health issues in this movie, which again, we had talked about there. Yeah. So
look, it's Super Tot Cosplay. The guy's name is Tyler. I think he listens. Like, look at that shit, man. That's dope. Like, he was like, I got to immediately put this shit on and take a picture. Like, the fact that, like, it's weird. When I was thinking about it, I was like, it's like people saw a real life Superman for the first time and went out and had to tell everybody how excited they were, which I really liked about it. I like that hope bringing aspect of it. So the fact that so many people posted that same line and the kindness line, and like, I was like, this is great, man. You got some quotables like right off the top that all sound very quintessential hope bringing Superman. So that was very exciting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. As we wind down here, a couple of things. One, anytime that like a trailer drops, we have like many of the Superman podcasts doing episodes, and it's fun. And We listen to each other's shows, and it seems like a lot of people enjoy listening to multiple different shows and getting different perspectives, which is cool. So, I mean, look, I know our pals that always hold on to Smallville and Krypton Report and All-Star Superfan, and it all comes back to Superman. Like, we'll all be doing episodes. Right. Check them out. Show them some love as well.
Oh, definitely, dude. They're really good.
And I want to say, because these episodes tend to kind of pop off a little bit more when we're talking about the forthcoming movie. So, like, if you're new to digging for kryptonite, or you're a lapsed listener, or you kind of like jump in and
Don't
out.
worry, I'm not on that often. You don't have to.
No, that was not where I was going with that. Yeah, normally we don't have the explicit tag, but no, not at all. But no, I was going to say, like, check out our other episodes. We just did a whole run of episodes on the Jeff Loeb, Joe Kelly era of comics from the early 2000s. And we hit on stuff like Lex becoming president and Superman going up against the elite, tapping into themes that seem to be at play in this.
Right.
And just earlier this week, we dropped an episode on Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, classic blockbuster storyline and animated movie. So check it out. And then this coming Tuesday, it's our 200th episode. So a lot of stuff that's come out in the past and fun stuff coming up ahead. So, make sure you subscribe and check out those other episodes. We'd love to have you as part of the ride. But the other thing is I've shared this with patrons, and then I posted it on social media generally, but this is my first opportunity to say it on the podcast here, kind of what our plans, which are a big part of, what our plans are for covering the release of James Gunn's Superman in July. So Bernie and I did about an hour and a half on the teaser trailer. You and I have done almost an hour and a half on the full trailer. So as I was thinking about the movie itself, it's like, I don't know that one episode is like really going to do it. So what I landed on is just making a meal out of the release weekend. So when we get to July.
Absolutely. Yeah, dude, I saw you put up like the little things like Monday, Tuesday. I was like, that's dope.
Yeah. So basically from Friday through Tuesday, 5 days, 5 episodes. We're going to drop an episode every day. We're going to kick it off. Yumi and Bernie, we're going to do a pregame show where we're going to talk about our final hopes and predictions. We'll talk about our viewing plans, our theater habits, our favorite movie snacks. Like, it'll be real fun. Get everyone amped up before, no spoilers, obviously. It'll be before we see the movie.
Right.
And then the next day we'll do our big spoiler discussion. And then we have 3 more coming out. I'm not going to say what those topics are yet, but I'll reveal them as they get closer. But we'll just be unpacking the movie over the course of those 5 days. And the event is called James Gunning for Superman, which I just felt appropriate.
Love it. if we can, because we always talk about people having opinions and just being nice. I think since we're on the way out, I think everyone should really focus on that quote: kindness in a world where kindness is considered old fashioned.
Yeah.
Like that's the line right there. Like, eyes up here. Fine. You could take that one. You can run with that one. That one, considering what is going on and how quick everyone is to be an asshole to somebody else when not knowing their situation, that to me is the line. Fuck every other line. They're very good, but that line is the line. That line for me was like, if I got chills for anything, it was basically just the quote itself. I was like, that's incredible, man. I think more people, and when I talked about this last time, when I read Superman books, I want hope before I dodge them. Now I want them. So knowing that was in there, I was like, I'm in because that's what I'm looking for out of this. So I hope we get it.
What line are you talking about? Is this what kindness in a world where kindness is considered old fashioned?
Yeah.
Is that a quote from Gunn about the movie, or is it a quote in the movie, or both?
I think it was in the trailer itself.
Oh, was it?
I think so. I mean, I wrote it down because I saw it and a bunch of people posted it. So yeah, I think so.
Right on. But it's a great,
man, like what a good, like, that's true, man. Like, everyone thinks being nice and being cordial is old fashioned, especially in the world that we live in today, when everyone's like, fuck you and your feelings and shit. Like, the fact that that's such a simple line that everyone needs to remember, and you can make your day and someone else's so much better just thinking about that shit. We should spend more time trying to be a little bit more Superman. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I echo that. That's something that I think we all, myself included, right? We all should always keep in mind. And, sure. and yeah, like, as we're continuing to navigate these last couple of months before the movie, right? Like, just keep in mind, right? Everybody's coming at this from a different place. There are some people who, really love the prior incarnation and found a lot of meaning in that. And we don't have to continually dump on that. At the same time, if you love the prior incarnation, recognize that there are people who are looking for something different, and now they have their opportunity. And when you see somebody watching a trailer and crying over it, it's like, hey man, that's their experience. And there's something about it that spoke to them very powerfully. And even if you don't share it, we respect it. So no, I think that's a great idea. And these are the kinds of conversations we'll continue to have here. So Thank you. So like I said, man, I was really looking forward to this. This is great.
Yeah, I was stoked. I was stoked for days, man.
Yeah, this episode, we're going to get this right out there, and I hope people enjoy it. And I hope everyone follows at Real Life Lobo on Instagram and follows your fitness and cosplay journey. And it's always great to see. And, you know, you'll be on the show again not too long from now. I'm excited.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the triumvirate, me, you, and fucking Bernie. I'm very excited.
Yes. All right, man. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, audience. Always appreciate you tuning in, especially for this quote unquote emergency recording. Oh, that's the last thing I'll say.
We're not done yet.
You know what? My frustration with the rollout of this, my frustration has been that we didn't know when the trailer was coming. It wasn't so much that the trailer came so late in the game, relatively. Right. Because again, we're less than 2 months out. Normally, you would have a full trailer by now. That didn't bother me so much. As a fan, it bothered me more as a podcaster, not knowing when. And so I'm just holding my microphone in my hand, right? Waiting for the opportunity to do this. So I'm glad that at least we got 24 hours notice or a little bit more. We knew that the trailer was coming. I'm glad we got to talk about it. I thank everyone. Keep tuning in. Again, our massive 200th episode is coming up on Tuesday. And until then, as always, it's about what you do. It's about action. Support the podcast and receive exclusive content, including bonus episodes, by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. Flat Squirrel Podcasts is home to Digging for Kryptonite and another exciting episode in the adventures of Superman. Please subscribe, rate, and review today, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. Links are in the show notes. Thank you all